Good morning, YouTube. It's your buddy Chop It On coming after another episode of Chop Talk, brought to you by the one, the only DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things DFS from NBA to PGA. We got you covered. 20 coaches, 40 staff, over 2,000 members, always talking DFS, all sports, all the time. Get down to the comments section, click the VIP coupon code, use the link, use the code CHOP, C-H-O-P, to trigger yourself another 10% off today. And take a look at the content, tools, and coaching that are making people better players all the time. It's just what we do. That's just what our dedication is, to make you a better player. Today we're going to talk NBA. We're diving into what appears to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 game slate, NBA slate, right? And we're going to sort through and pick out a player pool. I'm going to do this a little bit differently than I have been before with the and one program, which is all catch-all rating. What we're going to do today is we're going to assess the slate first. We're going to dive over here into Vegas team totals. And because this says opponent, I'm going to have to slide back over to the left. We're going to see who's pointed up. Let's go all the way down to what is underneath here, 110, 111, looking down in here to about this level down here. Scroll over a little bit more. Come on now. And we're looking at Miami pointed up, Boston, Portland, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Lakers, Washington, Toronto. These are teams we're going to want to be keying on as much as we can tonight. If we want to, we go ahead and just click these guys off right now. And we could make sure that we're tracking the teams that are scheduled to score the points. It's a fundamental way to break down a slate. We could also look, they're paced down. Very interesting. There's one paced up. Who's facing the Lakers today? That Boston is Portland. Portland facing the Lakers today. Portland is paced up. That's going to add to their point potential. We can also just sort this straight up descending and bring the heavy paced teams up to the top. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe a fifth team that I'd be watching. I mean, I don't need to look at everybody, but Memphis, Portland again, Cleveland, Orlando, maybe Brooklyn. Those are teams that I would be watching. Pointed up and paced up. If your average points is 100 per game and your average pace is, say, 80 possessions per game or whatever, arbitrary numbers, and you're scheduled to score 110 points tonight, then you are theoretically going to outscore your current or your average production, which means the pricing did not adjust, which means you are cheaper than you should be given your situation tonight. That's how we use that number. Same thing for paced up. If you average 80 possessions per game and tonight you're supposed to get 85, then theoretically you're going to get more possessions, which is more opportunities to score points, which means, you know, another shot, another rebound, another assist, another whatever. Slight uptick in production means that your price might be too low for your spot tonight. Those are indicators. That's why we watch those teams. That's why we watch for another thing that we watch, if you've never noticed before, is we watch the cap differential. If I go ahead and reset the system here, the cap differential, when it's green, when I click on the Fanduel side of our research station, that tells me that the green means they're cheaper on Fanduel relative to the cap than they are on DraftKings. It means they're priced up on DraftKings. And red would mean they're priced up on Fanduel and they're cheaper over on DraftKings. So what I'm looking for is guys that are significantly priced lower on Fanduel, because DraftKings has a more dynamic pricing system. They adjust for price in their algorithm a little bit more sensitively than Fanduel does. So when I see a price jump over on DraftKings, then I know that on Fanduel it didn't jump as high. I can play the guy over on Fanduel as a value play, because DraftKings likes the matchup. If Vegas also likes the matchup, then I'm going to assume that he's in a good spot tonight. And if I play that particular player or give him a little bit more weight in my player pool, you know, he may not make my final list, but he's going to make my list, then that is a player that I'm looking towards rostering tonight, because I'm going to get value from him, theoretically. Okay? These are not foolproof methods. These are just indicators. These are little boxes that we check off along the way. Are they scheduled to score more points than usual? Are they going to be playing at a faster pace? Are they cheaper on FanDuel or DraftKings, whichever site you're playing on? Check, check, check. These are players that start to make your pool. The N1 rating system we've talked about quite a bit. It's a catch-all statistic, measures things like, ADVP, consistency, how they've done over the last 3 games, how they've done over the last 10 games, how they've done at the difference of those last 3 and 10 games, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It is a very, very wide open catch-all metric that puts different weights and measures on things and tells us kind of the overall matchup that a player has. If I sort by that number, then what I'm going to find, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, McCollum, Lillard, Drummond, Wall, Kyrie Irving, these guys are all in phenomenal spots tonight. These guys are going to be in here. Another thing that I can sort by is I can just sort straight up by raw projection points. And that's what I'm going to do today, is just go straight up projections. And I'm going to create my list the exact same way that I did, but I'm going to watch a couple of factors. I'm going to go point guards. And I'm going to write down Wall, Simmons, Lillard. I always stick to the top 5, but I'm including Kyrie Irving tonight because Lillard's questionable. Okay? And I'm going to be watching their and 1 ratings. Got 3 good ones. Wall, Lillard, Irving. Okay? I'm also going to be watching their cap differential. And I put a little downward facing arrow next to their name, Lillard and Lowry. When they get over about 2%, 2.5%, I put a downward arrow next to them, indicating they're priced down on Fanduel compared to DraftKings. That's one of the indicators I watch. Okay? So shooting guard, Donovan Mitchell, Beal, Levine, Levine, DeRozan, Drew Holiday, right? Nobody question mark, we can cut Booker off. Doesn't mean he's in a bad spot. He's in a fine spot. But it just means that in the top 5, that's where the line got drawn. And I don't see anybody other than DeRozan. DeRozan should make your list. He's priced well down on FanDuel, and he's got himself a solid 18 almost in the and 1 rating. So looking pretty good. Small forwards, Giannis, LeBron, PG-13, Kawhi, Mirotic, questionable, so we'll include Josh Richardson. Mirotic has a great matchup tonight. These 3 guys have great matchups tonight. Mirotic, Paul George, Giannis priced down on FanDuel. All good indicators. We'll go back and cross-check, in your own time with the paced up, pointed up stuff that I was mentioning before. Anthony Davis, biggest and 1 on the slate. LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Aaron Gordon, Larry Nance. And Larry Nance at this price might be attractive. We'll have to wait and see. Big time price down for Blake Griffin and LMA. So those are people that I'm going to be watching and keying on perhaps and building around in my lineups. I'm going to be listening to our coaches today inside DFSArmy.com and be looking for hints that they like a certain player over another. And I'm going to put a little star next to his name. I just follow along. Listen, let the experts do the work for me. Start checking off little players, start putting this. I might like them in our optimizer. I might lock them in sometimes when all the coaches are recommending the same guy. Just follow along. Let them, like I said, let them do the work for me. The center spot, Embiid, Towns, Whiteside, Drummond, DeAndre Jordan, decent and 1s. Priced down is Embiid, which is intriguing because he's got Jimmy Butler to contend with now. Very intriguing. Okay, so now that we've looked at these, I've got the top 5 lists for point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. I'm going to do the same thing that we've done forever and a day. I'm going to find the guys that are under 6,000 by their raw points today. Oh, got to click that center spot off. And now I've got a lot of the $5,000 guys, and that's fine. I might pick up some of the value down in here later, but as an initial list, I'll go down to the 10 guys, Which is about right here. I got to scroll up a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Down to Gordon Hayward, okay? Derek White, Jeremy Grant, Spencer Dinwiddie, Sexton, Valanciunas, Ball, Kyle Anderson, Porter, Smith, Hayward. Those are your 10. Now I'm going to cut it down again and look for my punts. Temple, Forbes, Oubre, Crabbe, Turner, Knox, Chandler, Nwaba, Ish Smith, Bridges. Done. Got a 39, 35, 37. Got decent and 1 scores on these guys. Look over here. Got great value on Bryn Forbes. Good value on Nwaba. Those guys are going to be features on my list, no doubt. Shooting guard, point guard. All right. I'm good with that. That automatically tells me where my punts are most likely. Why do I need 15,000 punts when I'm probably only going to use the 2 best ones anyway? Right? Might use Garrett Temple. Anything over a 5 in the value, ranking category, not bad, right? Some people are going to super punt down here with Wilson Chandler. I would probably punt with Nwaba. Raw points are projected higher at 19. More likely that I keep his score than maybe a Tyson Chandler. Now, things change. News breaks. Guys are announced out, injured, resting, whatever. And in a lot of cases, that does change where we go with things because it changes these projections. Throughout the day, we'll get a couple of updates in this research station. We'll get lots of updates in the Domination Station Optimizer. And we'll be able to kind of ebb and flow as the slate ebbs and flows. But as of right now, this is my player list. This is what I'm looking at. I will also take the player pool here. If I can, turn this one off. Come back over here, and I'll be searching for dead value. Then I'll show you a little consistency thing, and then we'll wrap it up. Sort by value now. I'm looking for anything over 5x, right? So down to about Dinwiddie. Sorry, Chris, didn't make the list. So these guys are all over 5x today. These are guys that we should be looking at. These are guys that are projected for whatever reason. Maybe their price is too low. Maybe they're in a great matchup and their points are up. Whatever the case may be, they're generating value, at least on paper. These are guys I'm going to be looking for. And I'm going to hopefully be looking for guys that have jacked up ceilings. Right there, LMA, good spot tonight. Down here, DeAndre Jordan, good spot tonight. Who was under Jordan? Ayton? Okay, well, I can't choose from 2 centers, but I can certainly put LMA and either Ayton or Jordan in the same lineup. This might be where I go. I don't know yet. I haven't played with lineups yet. I haven't looked at anything else other than this. This is just the entry-level research that we're doing to kind of get a list started, kind of get names to watch, and then let the day start unfolding. I'm going to run off, and I'm going to do other stuff today. Run some errands, buy some dog food. Take a kid to an orthodontist appointment, whatever the hell it is that I got to do during the middle of my day. Write some emails, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe you've got an inbox stacking up at work, and you're sitting here listening to me on the sly, hoping your manager doesn't walk by. Hey, boss! Maybe not. The whole point is you're going to be doing this early, and then you're going to be sitting on the news for a little while, waiting and waiting and waiting until mid to late afternoon, and then you're going to come and check back in with our coaches, and you're going to start asking them questions. You're going to start picking their brains, finding out, following where they go, read their articles as they start popping out, throughout the day, and start narrowing down your list even more. Then you're going to plug these names into the Domination Station Optimizer, and you're going to be running lineups, and you're going to be picking the lineups that you like the best. I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. But let's jump over here now that we see the value list. Hopefully you've written those down. Let's jump over here and let's show you something. If I turn the value list off, actually. No, I'll just do it this way. Sorry to make you dizzy there. I just made myself dizzy. Consistency numbers, right? Cash consistency, GPP consistency. I'm using 5x kind of as my floor. Who hits it the most often? It's nice to see that Bryn Forbes hits value 66% of the time, isn't it? So if I sort that by descending, and I find Forbes, Mirotic, Magruder, these guys hit 5x 60% of the time. Now here's 2 things that this is going to tell you. Number 1, it's going to tell you these are your best shot at hitting consistency. It's also going to tell you that they don't always do it. So stop thinking this is an automatic cash printing business. It still requires a little bit of your own deciphering and understanding and a little bit of feel and a little bit of art in assembling these lineups together. These aren't push button methods, guys. That's what you've got the group think in the Army for, is to go in and this play or that play. Here's what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? Not, hey, how's my lineup look? Hey, man, how's my lineup look? Tell me it's good so I can come back and yell at you when it's wrong. That ain't how it works, bro. That ain't how it works at all. You need to assemble your own lineups. You can use all these little factors to do so. Come all the way down here to 50-50 shot. But guess what happens with a 50-50 shot? Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet each hit 5x 50% of the time. Great. What are the odds they both hit it in the same night? 25%. You take these numbers, you multiply them by each other. 66 times 63 times 61% is going to get you about 20% or so. And it's going to tell you that about 20-some-odd% of the time, these 3 are going to hit value at the same time. Now, do you see why it's so hard to build a GPP winning lineup? You can have all these numbers pointing in the right direction all you want. It still isn't necessarily going to happen. It only happens for, a handful of guys every night. But what we can do is we can get smart by focusing on these guys and get the majority of these guys to hit, therefore improving the floor of our lineups and at least winning our cash games. And then when we win our cash games, we're exposed slightly to tournaments, a lot to cash games, and then we can print our money that way. We can become very consistent if we put a lot of weight in the cash elements of our lineups and then a little bit of weight in the GPPs. We can capture the really, really good nights occasionally, but we can capture the decent nights more often. Your job is to build decent lineups and then let the chips fall where they may. That's the skill. The luck is winning the tournament. So I tell people all the time, if I had me and Jordan Spieth, one of the best putters in the world in PGA, right? If he and I sat out here and had a 50-foot putt, you dropped one ball down for him and one ball down for me and said, first guy to make it wins $1 million. I'm on a fairly level playing field on one putt. Because that one putt being that particular putt, luck. Now, he's got a little skill edge over me on that one putt in that he's going to have a better feel than me. He's going to read the putt a little better than me. He's going to understand how it's going to work a little bit better than me, right? And therefore, now I'm also not a weekend hack. My golf handicap's under a 3. I carry a 2.5, okay? So it's not like I'm a crappy golfer. That's why I'm saying there's a little edge. Now, if you're a guy that can't break 100, he's got a huge edge on you, okay? That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is he doesn't have much of an edge on me on that one single putt. However, if they dropped down 100 putts and said, $1 million to the winner, I would never take that bet. Who's going to make most of the most putts out of those 100? I'm not going to take that bet. He's going to crush me. You know, I'll make a handful of them, but he's going to make more than me almost every single time. So even though he has that small edge over me, it compounds over multiple runs of the slate. That's why over the course of a basketball season, 80-game season, the better players, the players that focus more on the right numbers, that focus more on trying to build decent lineups, that's why they win more often than you. That's why they have a skill edge over you. But on any given night, you can whip their ass. Because their edge in any given night, when you only get to run the slate one time, is not that large over you. That's DFS. That's what most people don't seem to understand, is that DFS is a small edge game on any given night. It's not even a large edge game, honestly, over an entire season. But there is skill involved in looking at these numbers, deciphering who the better players on the slate are, and putting together the lineup that has the best shot at getting to 250, 300, 350 points. There's a skill there. That's what we teach inside DFS Army, and that's what we try to do to get your head right. So anyway, I told you I'd play a little bit with the Domination Station. We'll run away and we'll do that for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll call it a day. That little tip thrown in there for you was just for you. Every once in a while, something like that pops into my head, and I just run with it. I think it helps. I think that kind of stuff, when we get into conversations inside DFS Army, I coach with the guys that frequent my room all the time, and I'm always trying to coach them and give them those little tips and give them those little things and draw analogies for them and get them to understand what the game is all about and what's really going on inside the game and why they should be allocating their money and managing their bankrolls appropriately. The one thing that I'm going to do when I get to the Domination Stations, I'm going to actually click the all button, leave the all button clicked. I'm going to uncheck that box. Now that I've got my player pool lined up, right? I've got John Wall in it. I've got Ben Simmons in it. Lillard's in it. Kyrie's in it. Lowry's in it. Conley's in it. Who else was in there? Dinwiddie was in there. Sexton was in there. Lonzo Ball was in there, but I'm not going to use him. Dennis Smith was in there. I saw Derek White's name in there. Van Vliet. I saw Mac's name in there. Ish. Saw his name in there. Bryn Forbes, duh. Okay, that probably is about right. Come to shooting guards, do the same thing. See, I've got them all unchecked. I'm only including the players I chose. Only the players that I want tonight, right? For whatever reason, these guys are all on my list. Don't know if I saw Reddick in there or not. Magruder hits value all the time. He needs to be in there. Danny Green. J.R. Crabb was in there. Temple's in there. See if we can find any others down in here. It doesn't look like it. No, there's Nwaba. He was one of the bigger values on the night, so we got to definitely include him. He'll probably get picked, and he'll probably leave a couple of these guys out. So your player pool doesn't have to be huge. Giannis, LeBron. Now, if you're running MME and running more lineups than me, then absolutely. You're going to definitely want to include bigger lists of names to get more spread. And that's what you need to be looking at guys like Donuts and other guys that MME more often than I do. That's what you lean on them for. Bridges was in there. You're looking at those guys for those types of tips and those types of that type of advice. How do I spread my player pool out? That's not what you use me personally for. Blake Griffin, LMA, Gordon, Tatum did not make the list. He was the first one cut. Sycam's not in there. It's interesting. Kuzma, Jeremy Grant was in there. No Taj today for some reason. At least not yet. Stuff happens. News breaks. And I'm probably skipping a couple because I'm trying to do this off of memory a little bit for speed so that we can get down in here and then we can get a couple of lineups to show you. Because again, these change throughout the day, guys. I just want to see who it's going to like. Was Vooch on my list? He was not. Gasol, Adams, Nurkic, DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan, you might want to check his game log. He's been a little inconsistent lately. It's been interesting. Ayton, McGee, Thompson. Valanciunas was interesting. He made the list. It's the first time this year he's made that list for me. Lopez, no Tyson Chandler, huh? Didn't see any of that. Okay, well, no worries. We've got about a 48-player pool. You can cut that down even more if you'd like. You can run out, say, 10 lineups. You can run 3 unique players. If you want a big wide spread, make 4. If you want a narrow spread, like a tighter core of a lot of the same players, just a couple of players here and there mixed, use 2. 3 is a good catch-all number. And from 3, I will take the max exposure and I would kick this thing down to, say, 75%. Kick over here into the margin so it changes all of this stuff to 75%. I'm not liking or loving anybody yet on these smiley faces. I'm just going to click optimize and see what it throws out at me. Derek White, Bryn Forbes, Derek White, Bryn Forbes, Derek White, there's Dinwiddie and Derek White. Looks like a pay down at point guard night. Shelvin Mack, pay way down at point guard night. Donovan Mitchell, Garrett Temple, there's Nwaba, Green, Mitchell, Booker, Nwaba, Mitchell, Temple, Nwaba. Jeez. Not a lot of expense. I'm surprised DeRozan didn't make it in here. Giannis, LaMarcus Aldridge, DeAndre Jordan. Interesting that it's wanting a lot of these guys. And the lineup is projecting right now at 310, 308, 307 points. Might be a higher scoring night. LeBron James, you're not running a lot of LeBron and Giannis in there together. But you can get some Giannis and Kawhi. These are the lineups. Now see, out of these 10 lineups down in here, I'm just going to be sorting through and picking the ones I like. Let's say I like that one. Then I look in here and I want to mix at the point guard spot. So I would maybe look at this one. Maybe a mix at the shooting guard spot. So off of Donovan and Garrett, Donovan and Nwaba, Danny Green and Nwaba might be all right. LeBron and Kawhi together looks interesting. I mean, and I've got 3 lineups right here that I might run. Now, why am I doing this? This is because, why am I letting the machine do it for me? I can hand build these lineups off of this player pool, and I'm not going to get these 305, 310 projected point lineups because my mind doesn't pick out like the algorithm does in optimizing those salaries and projections, and it doesn't do a very good job at it. So what I try to do is arrange my player pool as tight as I can get it to where these players, it doesn't matter. They're all in my player pool. It doesn't matter which ones I see. I just want a little bit of a mix. And then I'm going to go through here and I'm going to sort. Okay, I don't want the same guys in this one. This one's going to have 3 different players in it at least. So I'm going to maybe look at this, and this one have 3 different players in it. This one have 3 different players in it. But the optimizer is going to like certain numbers of players better than others. That's why I had to limit that to 75%. Was even down here towards the bottom to get it. But a 300-point lineup versus a 310-point lineup, 10 points. I mean, what are you looking at? 3%? Not a lot of variance in those. They're projected roughly the same, which means you can pick from that pool and be fairly confident that these lineups are all going to score. Now, some of them are going to score 250, 260. One might go for 320, 330. I don't know exactly how it's going to hash out over the course of the slate. What I know is that on paper, they project about the same. And so I'm going to get this mix, and I'm going to throw a smattering of these lineups out there tonight, as opposed to just one great big one. And I'm going to hope that some of them do well. I'm going to expose them to some contests, like some 100-man leagues and some GPPs. I'm going to back them all up with cash in what I consider mini ladders. If you know the ladder system, great. If you don't know the mini ladder system, you got to become a VIP for that kind of stuff, man. That's what we share. I've got a system of laddering lineups that focus on cash and give you a little bit of upside and close the gaps of triple ups and quintuple ups and all that kind of stuff. And I've got a mathematical percentage which I use in putting in the cash lineups and putting in the triple ups and putting based on my budget. My budget can be as little as $2. My budget can be as big as $20,000 tonight. It doesn't matter. I can sort that out for you, and I can make that work to where your lineup is sort of insulated against its own implosion. Now, all you've got to do is start hitting the 50-50s or the head-to-heads and do okay in those areas. And then if you build a lineup that hits the top 20% across the industry, you're going to make a ton of money. You're going to make very, very good money. That's what we do. That's what I do inside DFS Army. It's what I kind of articulated from years back, and that's what has grown into what's the ladder system. It's got ladders of all shapes and sizes for everybody. Anyway, we're at 25 minutes tonight. It's NBA. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go start poking on some other news and focusing on some other things. These lineups will change. The news is going to change. It does in NBA all the time. That's why I don't mind sharing this stuff early with you. It isn't going to look like this. This isn't going to be the ideal. 15 minutes before lock 2 nights ago, was it Ed Davis became the chalk? I missed it. I suffered. I put the phone down and I went take the dog out in the backyard or something like that. And I came back in, lock had happened, and I saw that news broke. I thought with 10 minutes to go, it was a pretty calm night. Then all of a sudden, bang, it blew up on me while I was out in the backyard with the dog. But, I mean, shit happens. You've got to be at lock, at your computer in your lock. You've got to be watching for the news and the pivots, and you've got to be paying attention or else you will pay the price. And that's why, again, I don't mind sharing this stuff up front. To become a VIP, click the link in the description down below in the comments section, dfsarmy.com. Use the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Get your butt in here. Let's coach you up. Let's make you a winner. Guys, this has been NBA Chop Talk for, November 14th. We're about halfway through the month of November. Let's see if we can make the second half of November a lot better and a little bit more profitable than the first half may have been for some of you guys. Jump on in here, and I love to talk to you. We'll see you soon.